Well, few people embody Oklahoma's pioneering spirit more than a man who played a key role in our country's race into space. The same passion that took General Thomas P. Stafford all the way to the moon is still evident today in his work to educate a new generation about science and technology. Ezra Lacey Stockstill reports. A visit to the Stafford Air and Space Museum in Weatherford, Oklahoma provides a look into our country's aerospace history as well as the life of an extraordinary Oklahoman.
With 4 space missions under his belt, including a trip to the moon, General Thomas P. Stafford has seen and done it all.
Houston, we've got a beautiful view of the Earth here, but it's absolutely fantastic.
What was so impressive to us, every crew that's ever gone to the moon, is the Earthrise. Earth is kind of like a blue and white large marble, really about the size of an orange, just suspended out there.
A graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, Stafford's interest in flying began as a small boy in rural Oklahoma.
I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, every afternoon I'd see this giant airplane, and a silver one would go overhead. And I'd look up at it and I said, wow, I've never seen anything that big before, and doing that, I said, I want to do that someday.
He did, and so much more. During his first flight to space in 1965, Stafford piloted Gemini 6, completing the first rendezvous in space.
This is the spacecraft where we could first really maneuver in space, and the crew was just up here in this main conical section.
A tight squeeze for the 6-foot astronaut, but only 6 months later, Stafford was in space again, this time commanding Gemini 9.
Tom, you got good thrust on all engines.
Apollo 10 was Stafford's first Apollo mission and the one that took him to the moon.
You better believe it, it's like we're climbing straight out, Joe. It's a fantastic sight. It's like we were shot straight out.
When I flew the first lunar module there, unfortunately it was too heavy to land, or I'd been the first one to walk on the moon and Cernan would have been the second one.
Inside the museum, you can see a variety of the equipment Stafford has worked with, from a lunar module to the spacesuit he wore during his proudest mission. The Apollo Soyuz, when American astronauts docked their spacecraft with Soviet cosmonauts in orbit. A mission that gave Stafford an appreciation for the Russian people and a lifelong friend, Cosmonaut Commander Alexei Leonov.
So Alexei is just like a brother to me, and my wife Linda and I have spent time at his dacha, you know, in the countryside there in Russia, in his home, and he's been to all 3 of our homes. And
forging a friendship that's even grown Stafford's family.
Linda and I have 2 new Russian boys, sons we adopted, and I never knew, as here we were at the height of the Cold War, I was on one side, Alexei on the other, that this relationship 30 years later would give us 2 new sons.
Stafford's contributions to aerospace are chronicled throughout the museum, as well as a tribute to the history of flight.
Aerospace is the epitome of what the human mind can do. It's changed the world, how we travel, how we fight wars.
And while almost everything inside the museum is something Stafford has flown or worn, the museum is bigger than just his legacy.
This museum is not about Tom Stafford at all. It never was supposed to be about him. It's not. It's about how it motivates the younger people to get excited about academics and what they can do.
And Stafford's goal for students visiting the museum is a simple one.
Excel in school and be excited about school.
An excitement that carried General Tom Stafford around the world and even to the moon.
Clear the tower. Well, while General Stafford is most noted as an astronaut, he's also credited with the original design of the stealth bomber. And believe it or not, he sketched it all out on a piece of hotel stationery. Now, to hear the General tell a funny story about just how far we've come with technology, just head to our website at okhorizon.com and click on Value Added.